The White House releasing its framework on immigration, which is something of a sad and disappointing proposal for the tens of millions who voted for and supported this president. It's going to be interesting to see the reaction. It calls for a 10 to 12-year path to citizenship for 1.8 million DACA recipients, and then things start slipping and sliding. And it says other DACA-eligible illegal immigrants with work and education requirements. And it gets even more complicated. What was once called a wall is now a $25 billion trust fund. However, that money intended apparently, we're not sure how much will actually be in that so-called trust fund, if ever any, but it's intended for the border wall, the ports of entry along the border, and all sorts of other expenses that may relate to border security. It gets complicated. And limits on family-based immigration to spouses and minors, that's usually called chain migration. It doesn't end it. It changes the definition, the tenure, and the outcome. The numbers get very slippery indeed again. And to end the visa lottery system, but not before doing an offset against, well, various other forms of immigration, including legal immigration. Joining us tonight is Congressman Sean Duffy, a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, great to see you, and congratulations
it's good to be with you, Lou.
On what has been a magnificent year for the Trump administration, the Republican Party, the House and the Senate, who have delivered for the American people. There have been times during the course of that first year that I didn't know if we'd be having a congratulatory discussion.
Lou, you're a little critical of us in the House, and you know what? Rightfully so. We weren't able to make a repeal and replace of Obamacare happen, but you know, at the end we came through with big tax reform, and we now see that rippling through the economy. People getting pay raises, bonuses, stock markets up. This has been fantastic for the American worker.
And it hasn't even really, the American worker, the middle class, small business, they really haven't felt, because the withholding period really hasn't kicked in. That'll happen next month, and then you're going to see tactile response from all of us who get a pay increase as a result of a cut in the pay to the federal government.
A little bump in our pay, that's right. But I also think, you know, we see the big news stories, you know, whether it's Home Depot or Verizon,
right.
Starbucks, they're all coming out with their bonuses. But in my own community, I'm in central Wisconsin here in Wausau, I've had a number of employers say, hey, listen, I'm going to add more money to my employees' 401ks because of tax reform. I'm going to bump up their salaries or give a little bonus. That's happening across even central and northern Wisconsin. And because they're smaller companies, that doesn't make the front page news stories. But it's happening not just at the big level, it's happening at the smaller levels in rural communities like the ones that I live in, all across America, which is pretty fantastic.
It's as you say, pretty fantastic, because in point of fact, most jobs are created in those smaller employers, not the larger. But thank goodness we got over 250 corporations now who have announced these bonuses and wage increases, and in many instances, stock as well. So it is having a wonderful effect, and that'll pay off in terms of investor confidence, consumer confidence, and make America great again. Let me ask you this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we already see that, though. In investor confidence and consumer confidence, those numbers are already up. And I look at Democrats who have bashed this tax bill. This was a tax scam, they say, or the bonuses of $1,000 or $2,000, or the pay increase, a couple dollars an hour that people have gotten. They've called that crumbs. Well, Nancy Pelosi, I think she's worth $30 million. Well, $1,000 for someone who makes $30 million, yeah, not a big deal. But for a lot of people in my community, that's a huge deal in people's pocketbooks, and it just shows how out of touch Democrats are on what this does for the American people. And by the way, when they were in charge, they gave us Obamacare, which raised our health care premiums and took our doctors away. That's their perception of helping the American people out. Ours is actually putting money back in their pocketbooks.
And Congressman, I want to turn very quickly, we're out of time, but I want to turn to, first of all, the Intel memo. Do you think the president will approve its release right away, straight away?
I do. I think he has 5 days to object, so I think it's going to be released, and I think it's great for you to see it, Lou, and all your viewers.
All right. And the last thing, this rather stunning release of a well, of an immigration plan. A wall becomes a trust fund. Yeah, we're looking at chain migration ending, but not long. It's a shift. It's a, this is quite, even by Washington standards, I think you'd agree, this is pretty slippery stuff, especially for a Donald Trump administration.
Right. We don't have all the details. It was my understanding that out of the $25 billion, $20 billion was going into a trust fund, so it couldn't be reclaimed by a future Congress, so Donald Trump could build a wall. Mm-hmm. Here's my concern about what we've heard about this deal. It only gets worse over time as Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi start to take bites out of it. Donald Trump should have gone further, had a harder position, because he's going to have to move on it. He's come too close to Democrats, and I think it's going to only end in a worse deal than what you've seen tonight.
Well, you fellows in the Republican conference need to get up there and have coffee with the man. Congressman, good to see you. All the best.
Well, we're going to say it too, Lou. We're going to say you too. Have a good night.
You got it. We're coming right back with much more. Always good talking with Sean Duffy. Stay with us.